Hello everyone, what is up? It is me, Ewan from What Culture, joined by the venerable, brilliant, and ever-sophisticated Josh Brown.
I wasn't prepared for any of those compliments, but thank you,
But
Ewan.
you're all three of those things? I think I said three.
I'll take it.
I can't remember now, but you know the other thing that's really sophisticated and brilliant?
Come on.
The Batman reboot that's coming out in 2021, because there was new casting news that came out overnight, because the casting just doesn't stop with this film. We've literally had everything. We had Robert Pattinson, we had Zoe Kravitz, we had Paul Dano. There was the whole Jonah Hill, Seth Rogen saga, which just
Will they, won't they? It was the greatest sitcom TV storyline of all time.
Exactly, but now we actually know who's going to be playing the Penguin, and it's Colin Farrell's account.
Got it. Absolutely smashed it. Brilliant, that. Unbelievable joke.
That's the most esoteric social media pattern that anyone who isn't familiar with Rebecca Vardy and Colleen Rooney will just not understand.
Sadly, Paul Rudd's not going to get that joke, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Colin Farrell is an excellent casting choice, in my opinion. The Jonah Hill stuff was always kind of weird. I feel like even though Jonah Hill is obviously a great actor, he can do comedy, he can do really serious stuff, as he's proven in works like, The Wolf of Wall Street, I feel like everyone kind of reacted to that in a kind of like, ooh, that's an interesting choice. And Colin Farrell is similarly interesting, but in a different way. I love him and everything he has been in. He is great in The Killing of a Sacred Deer. He's very versatile. And, of course, he has played a superhero villain before in the critically acclaimed, Oscar-winning 2003 film Daredevil, which is awesome, genuinely, and very good.
The best song did it that year. Evanescence's.
Yep, and I'll have nobody sort of go against that. It won an Oscar. Definitely, for sure.
It definitely did. But yeah, I'm curious about Colin Farrell's casting because, as you say, I think he's a great actor. I think Bullseye was kind of the most eccentric. It's such that film is so weird because he comes into that film like just a sledgehammer through like they've got the solid foundation. He just comes in and goes whoosh, like that, and he just starts slashing everything. And he's kind of really brilliant in that film. Whereas obviously Penguin demands something that's just as eccentric but in a different way.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious to see where Reeves goes with this because obviously, in lieu of the fact that we've heard rumors that it's taking inspiration from The Long Halloween and other different Batman comics. And judging from what we've gotten so far, I'm willing to say that this is going to be a little bit more of a, not necessarily authentic Batman film, it's certainly more faithful to the comics in different regards. I'm curious to see whether or not they go with an animalistic Penguin like we have with Danny DeVito, or whether they go with more of a, refined mobster type who, there are different things that you can get from there.
Well, this is exactly what I was going to ask you, Ewan, because going off, Colin Farrell's casting and Jonah Hill before him, what do you think they're actually going to do? Because I love the Danny DeVito balls to the walls. He's an actual animal sort of take on the Penguin. But what's become, at least in my eyes, more popular over the past few years is sort of the Arkham video game style Penguin, where he's kind of, that mobster, sort of like a Cockney gangster sort of thing. Do you think they're going to go down that route, or will it be a more gothic, sort of supernaturally inspired version?
We look at kind of the DeVito Penguin as being the most iconic and certainly the more comic booky, but before that, Penguin, even though you think of Burgess Meredith in the 60s show going in the comics, he was always less animalistic and more just a man with a gimmicky sort of penguin kind of walk, and he did go like that. I kind of just want to go wow forever now. That's such a fun role. I'm really interested in maybe seeing this played less animalistically, although I do want to see Colin Farrell go over different points of the film. I don't know. I think if you certainly look, I think he can sell the idea of a really sophisticated socialite. Obviously, the whole thing with the Penguin is that the Cobblepot family feel cast out by the rest of Gotham's original groups, the Waynes and so on. So I'm interested to see if he'll be able to channel that resentment into the role and kind of maybe have that whole class dynamic going in with the Wayne family legacy, which I think would be really interesting because we've never really seen that.
No, that would be awesome though. And I wonder how he's kind of going to play off Paul Dano's Riddler as well, because it could be a really strange relationship. We don't know if they're going to team up or anything, obviously, but you would assume that they would have some screen time together. And Paul Dano and Colin Farrell, there is a big difference there in I guess sort of physicality, and I'm really scared of Colin Farrell is all I'm saying, especially when he has a beard. I'm petrified of the man, whereas Paul Dano has the kind of perhaps smarmier, perhaps more socialite sort of like look about him if he sort of flicks his hair over and gets a bit thin and wears a suit. I'm really scared of him in that sort of way. I don't know how they're going to use all of these villains. I am partly a little bit scared, I'm not going to lie, of villain overload. I love the idea of sort of this Long Halloween kind of, tale where Batman is fighting a bunch of different people. It's not just kind of confined to one big bad. But we have seen superhero movies in the past struggle with ensemble casts and cramming in good motivations and, strong through lines for their villain characters and not just have them kind of throw away. But that said, it would be cool to sort of help build a world. If we know that these great actors are playing these great villains, they might only have to appear, momentarily in this movie to be set up in the future.
I think Batman's quite unique in the sense that everyone is familiar with the character's villains. Everyone knows who Penguin is, everyone knows who Riddler is, and even if they don't necessarily have much time in the spotlight to shine, you can quickly, they can walk in on the screen and people will instantly know, oh, that's the Riddler, oh, that's the Penguin, and even if they don't have an ancillary role in the film, I think that certainly seeds up later films as well, and I think from indications from reports over the past few months is that Warner Brothers are very keen to make Reeves' trilogy a big Batman universe, if you will, and if they're taking inspiration from The Long Halloween, it stands to reason they're also taking inspiration from Dark Victory, which had the more integrated ensemble cast. Obviously, I hope they drop the rhyming. In those films, Mad Hatter and Scarecrow just rhyme all the time in nursery rhymes, and it's the most... Jeff Loeb, why? Why would you do that? It's really weird.
Did you mean awesome? It's awesome.
No.
Oh.
No,
right.
It's really bad. But shall we move on to the other casting news?
Yeah, come on then.
In slightly less sinister news, we've actually got the Wrap coming out and saying that Andy Serkis is going to be playing Alfred Pennyworth. You can finally put all your Pierce Brosnan rumours to rest. It's actually going to be Andy Serkis, which I'm actually pleasantly surprised by. I was personally hoping that Ray Fiennes would take his brilliant live-action turn as, animated turn as Alfred in the Lego Batman movie and follow Zoe Kravitz and actually take that to live action because I think he's wonderful in that film. And I imagine him in the Batman movie would be absolutely incredible. He's just so sarcastic, so dry. I would have loved that. But Andy
still pretty
Serkis,
good.
I'm still excited about that as well.
Me too, but I have thoughts on this, and again, not just to play devil's advocate, but when it comes to sort of characters like Alfred and Aunt May is the other one, even though they're sort of supporting characters in a larger sort of ensemble and not the main hero, I have a very specific image of what I think these characters are in my head. I think of Alfred as not a cockney hard man who can knock people out, and he's got he's got the mustache. He's very yes, exactly like that. So when these casting announcements come out, whether they're great actors or not, I always sort of get taken aback a little bit. And that's wrong of me to do that because I shouldn't, cast judgment on a film that only exists in my head. But at the same time, I don't know whether you're the same because I have a very sort of, distinct view of who these people are. And when it sort of deviates from that, I get a bit worried. And I don't know why I do it. I suppose people get this for, Batman himself, which I don't. Maybe it's because I've seen more sort of incarnations of Batman both on screen in video games on the page that I'm more open to different interpretations, but it's weird that this relationship I have with Aunt May and Alfred, that I'm kind of reactionary to casting choices, even though Andy Serkis is awesome and it makes sense for him to team up again with Matt Reeves.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think my favourite kind of version of Alfred was Michael Gore's character in the Tim Burton films. I thought he nailed the warmth of Alfred, but at the same time, I am familiar with the comics where Alfred isn't necessarily a badass. I think it's really cringy when comics sort of try and over-egg, his past with the SAS or MI5, whatever incarnation the character it is. But, at the end of the day, Alfred does stick his hand in the mud and actually get involved. And I think Serkis maybe will be able to blend that aspect well. And actually, if I'm going to praise any recent portrayal of Alfred, I think both Jeremy Irons and Sean Pertwee in Gotham really nailed that dynamic. Especially Pertwee, I thought he got both aspects of the character really well in that series, even though obviously he wasn't serving a Batman. And I thought that if he kind of, that was a really good modern template of the character of how Alfred tends to behave. I think you need more of that kind of posh, sardonic humor to really kind of cement the character as being his most authentic self. But at the same time, I definitely think Serkis could marry both aspects well and really just kind of, I don't know why, I have this image of Serkis as Alfred as just being in disbelief all the time. It's like, oh, you've got a bat suit now, have you? Oh, great. That's, really, you're gonna take the trust fund and put it on the Batmobile? You call it a Batmobile? Really, sir?
Brilliant, come on. I would absolutely love that. I think you make an interesting point about, I haven't seen Gotham, so I can't comment on that show's Alfred, but Jeremy Irons, to me, was a really good Alfred. That was a great template of what the character could be. Like a lot of elements of Zack Snyder's sort of superhero romps. There was a lot of great elements, including Ben Affleck's Batman, but I just feel like he wasn't fleshed out enough. And if you could take a similar approach to Andy Serkis's take on the character, that would be the way I would like to see it go down. I want Alfred to have a more hands-on role, but like you said, not to the point where he's, knocking out the Scarecrow or, beating someone up with a golf club, even though that was awesome in Chris Nolan's movies.
Yes, but in the last bit of news that we've had, it's kind of a little bit of a tease of what's to come with the Batman. Variety mentioned in a tweet that Harvey Dent's next in line to be cast, and in their tweet they actually say, sources say a certain member of the Roy family was asked to play Harvey Dent in the Batman, but they ended up passing. Now, Variety have shown no limitations here because we've actually got an exclusive scoop because it's obviously Ben Roy Turner. Come
Obviously,
on in,
Ben Roy. He's too busy being Harvey Dent. He's a method actor, you know. He
exactly.
can't. He's too angry. He's really confused. This threw me for a loop, Ewan, because obviously it is Ben Roy who is, you know, going to be Harvey Dent. Here he is.
Here he is.
Ben Roy, what's it like to be Harvey Dent? Interesting.
Well, it's actually a really good role, and I'm really happy to get it, and I can't wait for you all to see Harvey Dent.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for coming on
Thank
to
you
the
for
show.
that.
It's wonderful. Yeah, it's really bad. You can't see me! But let us know what you think of the Batman casting announcements down in the comments below. Are you excited about Andy Serkis as Alfred and Colin Farrell as Penguin? And who do you want to see play Harvey Dent in the new film? It probably
Ben
is
Roy.
Ben Roy, yeah. And once you've done that, please be sure to hit the bell notification so you don't miss any future videos going forward. And head back on over to whatculture.com where you can find more news, lists, and articles like this every day. You can follow me on Twitter at YourRunesThings. You can follow Josh on Twitter at
Josh Broom with 2 O's.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.